Very good afternoon to all of you. Today I'm going to discuss about the topic array. What is the role of the array in the C programming? It really helps when you want to uh, enter multiple values of same type. Rather before array, it was if you want to enter or take multiple values of same type, you need to declare them independently. If you want to declare multiple values under the common name, then one concept really help you, that is an array. So actually array is a collection of same type of data. Array is a collection of homogeneous type of data. Array is a collection of similar type of data. You can say under the common name you can share, you can add, or you can store same type of the data. Actually, array is a compile time memory allocation. So for array, you need to uh, putting the size. Size always required when you are going to declare an array, because array store allocate memory at compile time. So size is mandatory, should be there. How many elements are you going to be enter? So size should be, but the size is constant. So two things arises using array. One, if you are using the less number of elements, rather you declare the array size, so the memory get wasted. If you are using number of elements rather than the size of the array, more than the size of the array you have declared, so the memory will get wasted. So array really help you to store multiple data in a programming. So if you have multiple data, so you can apply various operation like the searching and the sorting. Searching is to find an element in the given array, and sorting is to arrange the element of the array, either increasing or the decreasing of it. So these are the application of the array. How you can declare an array? Array required array required. One is a type, another thing is a name, and third is the size. Type tell about the how many types of the element you are going to be stored, like a int, float, or the char. That is a mandatory part because you are going to be declare an array. Similarly, a name is required under the common name. Like here is a int a5, a is a name, and 5 is a size. One single pair of subscript. The size is enclosed with the single pair of subscript that shows you the dimension. So A5, that means you can store the 5 elements in array. So this is a declaration of the array. Similarly, the initialization of the array, rather than you going to be enter the values, you can initialize the array with some element. So your array will be filled with this following elements like the 1, 12, 33, 40, or 5. So this is the initialization. How the values get added or stored in a array. Okay. So the indexing starts from the 0th. First element going to be stored at the 0th index. Similarly, the last element will be stored at the size minus 1 index. So similarly, if you have a array size of 5 and you want to enter the you want to fill the full array, 5 elements. So the first array will be stored at the location of A0, that is called first value, and the last value will be stored at the A4 because A size minus 1. The size is here the 5, 5 minus 1 will be the 4. So by this way, elements are arranged in a array. If you want to take input through user in array, it requires a for loop. For loop helps here for running the values for the indexing. So this for loop is running for the indexing. So you find the syntax of for loop. For loop is running from I equals to 0 to I less than 5, I plus. So first the value of the I will be 0 and I 0 less than 5 is a true. The condition will be checked. First I less than 5, first time is loop is going to be iterate. So condition is true. So the control will move into the body of the for loop. Here the print enter value value will be printed. So the first value going to be stored at the first location. So here the I will be the 0. So the first value stored at the address of A0. So repeatedly, this for loop will be running for the next time. I will be get incremented and the I will be the 1. So I1, 1 is less than 5. Similarly, now the condition is true. Control will move into the body. Enter the value, first statement will be printed. Scanf is take the input through the keyboard. Similarly, this value will be stored at address of A1. So this loop will be run, iterate 5 times starting from I equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 5 times this loop will iterate and the values, respective values will be stored at the A0, A1, A2, A3, and so this is the way to giving input through the user or to filling the array. It is the first requirement whether you are applying the operation on the array. Array should be filled either in the initialization or the using taking the values from the user. Similarly, printing the values, you are printing the multiple values. Those are previously stored in the array. Similarly, running here the for loop will be help for every time will help for the handling the array element. Whether you are going to be insert the value or whether you are going to retrieve the values. So this for loop always required to be helpful for accessing these multiple values. So either if you want to calculate multiple values, so another for loop is required. So there is the necessary there is 3 situations arises where the for loop come with the array. One is at the time of input requires if you are going to be the multiple values going to be calculated. So other next activity, this process should be inside the for loop. And third is if you want to print the multiple values, always this printing will be occur with the for loop. So for loop, without for loop, you can't imagine the working of the array. Always this for loop help. One loop is required because this loop is running for the index value. Index value where your elements are going to be stored. Okay. So here is to find the average of n numbers in a one-dimensional array. Array, that means first in the main inside the main function we declare an array int a 100. Int is a type, a is a name, and 100 is a sign. Similarly, another variables in and float s0 or average. Here we are not bothered about to fill all 100 elements. Once you initialize the array, so constant value required to declare an array. Without constant, this array will not be valid. If you want to write the for n is not defined. So because this this size should be constant because it is a compile time memory. It allocates memory at the compile time. So the size here, the size of the array, you can take input the value from the n, how many element you want to enter. If the value is n is a 10, so the n 10 will be given by the user through keyboard and is stored in an n. And for that particular n, that for particular for loop will be moved, will run or will iterate further from 0 to less than n. So if the n value of n is a 25, it will move. So the one thing is arises. If you are using the value of n is a 10, that means because your program is occupying the memory for the 100 element, but you are using the 10 blocks of memory, so the 90 blocks of the memory get wasted. This is a constraint from the array. If you are using the array, that means you need to bear such loss. Okay. Similarly, if you are choosing the value of n is a 110, you want to enter the element of 110. So what will be happen? So you have taken the memory, occupying the memory for the 100 elements. So how you will be going to be enter another 10 numbers? So memory is insufficient. So these two issues always arises when you go through the arrays. Either the memory get wasted or the memory is insufficient. This solution can be later on overcome by the dynamic memory allocation. That means the memory allocation take place at the runtime. Final execution time, you are very free. How many elements you want to enter, memory will be allocated. Fine. So in this for loop, we are entering the value. Loop will be iterate accordingly from I equals to 0 to I less than n. First time loop will be iterate. So the value will be stored, scanf, whatever the value user will give through the keyboard. The first value will be stored as address of AI. Because I for loop is running first time, so the first value will be stored at address of AG. Similarly, what the value I have taken, we are going to be add into the S. Here the two things we are doing under a one for loop. One is taking the values of input, another is to adding into S. So rather than taking a separate for loop, some programmers use in such a way, you are taking the value one by one, and further these values are added into the S equals to S plus AI. What is the formula S equals to S plus Y? Is it a self-declared, self-updation? After every iteration, S will be improved to self. So self S will be improved when the for loop will be running up to the last iteration. When we will come out of this for loop, some having some value, some S having the values of all the elements get added into the S. So after coming out of this for loop, now the average will be calculated. You have the total of all the values you stored in an array. Their total will be in S. So number of elements, what you chosen at the time of entry, and the value, if you divide number sum of all elements, divide by number of elements, so average will be, you will get the average. Okay. Here you find the output is a single word output. So there is not required of the for loop. There is no required to calculating average inside the for loop, because here you required a one value. When your input is a multiple, your process having the multiple, your final output having the multiple values, then you can use the for loop. So, but for the input and but for the processing, for loop is a mandatory. Okay. Thank you. We'll discuss another part in the next section. Thank you.